What's up, everybody? I hope you're doing well. Today, I thought it might be nice to just kind of take a pulse of how things have gone in 2024 for therapists. Sometimes I'll put out a poll to try to get a little sense of what's going on for therapists, but today I thought it might be nice to turn to the wild, wild west that is the therapist subreddit. I kind of see Reddit as a form of social media that's more palatable for me because I really don't like when the algorithm decides what it thinks I should watch next, which is how most social media platforms work now. And the therapist subreddit is quite sizable. There are 138,000 members in the subreddit. I mean, right now I'm logged in and there are 78 people online right now just in the subreddit. So it's an active space for therapists. We have a system to look at what the most upvoted posts are across 2024 amongst therapists on this subreddit. So I thought it would be interesting, fun, informative to take a look at what some of the top posts were in 2024 amongst therapists and just offer some of my own thoughts, my own commentary. I will be filtering out any posts that touch on particularly heavy topics, as of course therapists often are navigating. There are some top posts that are quite heavy, so I'm just naming that I am intentional about skipping over those, not to minimize the importance of them, but simply to keep this video pretty G-rated. I'll link to the subreddit below. You can go ahead and check those out for yourself if you'd like. Now, kind of interesting, the most upvoted post for all of 2024 happened in the final week of the year. So the post says, "Found this in my fortune cookie from Chinese takeout." And there is a picture of their little fortune from their cookie that says, "Seek help from professionals trained in mental health care." The fortune cookies these days, they're on point. The little caption that this user put for the photo says, "Florida LCSW here. I think it's saying something for what 2025 is going to bring." And just scrolling through the comments, the top comment under this post says, "Okay, so now I'm going to pay for fortune cookies that have this in all of them and sell them to my local Chinese restaurants." That would be kind of a fun job to be in charge of writing the fortunes on the fortune cookies. I don't know. So I bet people who do that have a little fun with it. Okay, the next most upvoted post from 2024 says, "Kaiser Therapist Strike, Riverside, California." This is from 2 months ago, and there is this big strike that I think, as far as I know, is still ongoing amongst therapists working in Kaiser in Southern California in particular. No surprises, unfortunately. Folks are advocating for better conditions, better pay, and it's not happening. So therapists and mental health care workers at Kaiser have gone on strike. Okay, I have to give the disclaimer of I'm just sharing things that are alleged, things that are my opinion. I don't represent Kaiser in any way, so I'm just reading what people wrote here. But one of the top comments says this. Again, I can't attest to how accurate this is or not, but I will just read this person's comment as an allegation and opinion. They say, "Some of the things I've been reading about with regard to working conditions for the mental health team at Kaiser are truly shocking. Caseloads of up to 86 clients per week. No time set aside for notes or planning, calls, or emails. If a cancellation occurs, they just slot someone else in. And revoking the pension and benefits other Kaiser employees have." And this person says, "It's a hellacious work environment." Woo! Again, I have no way of validating whether that's true or not. I really like that I haven't been sued yet as a channel, and I'd like to keep it that way. So I don't want to stir up anything, but I will say I know a lot of folks who ended up seeing me after their experience with Kaiser. They had a lot of complaints. I'm not going to dig into it. You can look it up for yourself, but yes. Says Marie, holding her tongue because she doesn't want to get in trouble. So we'll just leave it there. Okay, the third most upvoted post from 2024 is from 13 days ago. Look at all these people upvoting at the end of the year. Maybe people just had free time during the holidays. It says, "I did it. I graduated. I'm legit crying." Oh, I love this. They say, "Last week I had the official cap and gown graduation walk and celebrations. 3 minutes ago, I submitted my last assignment. all caps, I am done with grad school. I did it. They go on to say 2.5 years of intense work with 4 kids while working as a substitute teacher with multiple sclerosis and AuDHD. My goodness. While navigating the intense psychological fallout of leaving a cult and nearly leaving my marriage. Wow. And I did it. Yes, that is a huge thing to accomplish for anybody, but how did you do all of that at the same time? I'm a full-fledged graduate with a Master of Arts in Clinical Mental Health Counseling, will have my associate's license within a month, and have a job at my internship site. All of these lovely things. And then they go on to say, I literally had spontaneous tears come when I turned in that assignment. I've never been so damn proud of myself in my life. Yes, you did it. You should celebrate. That feeling when you finish grad school is incredible because it is so long, so tedious. I can viscerally remember that feeling of when all of my dissertation edits were finally approved. And I think it was probably just like an email from an admin person at that point because I'd finished all my classes. It's like, congratulations, you are now Dr. Marie Fang. And it's like, oh, okay, cool. And then your diploma comes in the mail later. That feeling of like, I finally did the freaking thing. But yeah, graduating is surreal. And I can't even imagine graduating with this massive list of hardships that this person navigated. Incredible. Yes. Is this just anecdotal because you kind of just notice the hardships that people are going through more than, I don't know, people who have smooth sailing experiences? But I just feel like I hear more often than not how challenging graduate school is for so many folks, not just because the graduate school part itself is challenging, though it is, don't get me wrong, but that like life ends up being so challenging during graduate school. And I don't know if it's like a chicken or the egg thing or just, I don't know. I feel like I hear those stories a lot, and just good job. Good job, everybody. Everyone, if you're in graduate school, if you made it through graduate school, wow. Give yourself, just in this moment, just give yourself a bonus, like pat on the back, because it's incredible that we all have done that. Okay, I'm already laughing at the next post in this subreddit. It's a meme with a photo. It says, when a client starts the session by asking you to reiterate your confidentiality policies, and then it just shows this picture of a person sitting in the car with like however many seatbelts buckled across them to be. Why do you need me to reiterate that? What are you hiding? What are you afraid of telling me that you think I might potentially tell someone else about? If this comes up, it's usually around somebody wanting to share something about their past that they're afraid might be reportable. Or if they're in a really hard spot right now and they're afraid that they might be hospitalized because of what they share. But maybe it's sort of more passive thoughts of harm or things like that. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it is more urgent. But there have been a couple times where I've had clients ask me to clarify that because they did something illegal. And, you know, all of that remains confidential, but they needed me to reassure them that I would not be, you know, reporting them to the police for whatever illegal behaviors they engaged with. The top comment says, I feel like most of the time this happens, it just ends up being me reassuring them that I won't hospitalize them for passive SI. Yes. Underneath that, somebody responds, for me, it's this or teens telling me they smoked weed or something, LOL. Yeah, somebody else responds to that saying, many of the most worried clients regarding this have the mildest disclosures. Then the ones I have to worry about drop bombs like they're nothing, LOL. That kind of checks out for me as well. Okay, the next one just is titled, Anyone else? And it's a picture of Michael Scott from The Office speaking, and the quote says, sometimes I'll start a sentence and I don't even know where it's going. I just hope I find it along the way. I have absolutely done that. Sometimes I'll have these, I guess I can only describe as like tip of the tongue experiences where I know that my head has the rest of the sentence in it somewhere, but it's not living on a fully conscious level. And I know if I start talking, it's going to come out. And I have no problem if from time to time, not always, but sometimes I start the sentence and I do get lost. And then I just say, I'm sorry, I guess I got lost in that sentence. And then just making a pivot into something more productive. But a lot of times it's like, oh yeah, there's the sentence. It'll come out midway. The top comment says, Maybe the real therapy is the sentences we made along the way. The next top comment says, worse is when I think I know where it's going, only to realize I can't land the plane smoothly. Oh no. Somebody replied to that comment and says, quote, you know that thing with what's his face and what they said? Yeah, I mean, it happens. Therapists are still human. And I think it's more important for us to embrace that we are human and we will make these little oopsies moments, but we're not harming our client. We're not being anti-therapeutic. We're just being a person who's slipping up on our thoughts and our words, which is something that happens to everybody, at least sometimes. It's much better to have some humor about it and just keep going than it is to feel so much pressure that we have to get it right. I definitely felt that way more in the earlier days. So I think this post is probably really liked because it just validates an experience that all of us have had at some point. The next top post just says shout out, and it's a screenshot of a post. It looks like maybe an Instagram post from the No BS therapist. I will link to their page below as well. It says, quote, shout out to therapists who parkour from talking about political anxieties to infidelity to childhood trauma to celebrating milestones to grief to climate change concerns to harm reduction to parenting strategies to last night's bad date in the span of a day or even in a session. It is kind of like mental parkour sometimes. Okay, we're going to go there. Okay, we're going there now. Okay, yep, we're just going to keep on pivoting throughout the day. If people could see just how many different things we might talk about, it is a lot. Okay, the next top post is definitely more serious. The title says, therapists who do not have a lot of experience with ASD/ADHD, please be careful with your comments. I don't know how to pronounce this acronym correctly. They say I'm an AuDHDer, which I've only seen online, and I know it means that somebody who's diagnosed with both autistic spectrum disorder and ADHD. Hello, Editing Marie, interrupting this episode. I looked it up, and indeed I did mispronounce this acronym. It's pronounced AuDHD. I found a very helpful video from a creator whose channel is titled the Neuro Curiosity Club. I'll link to the full episode below if you would like to learn all about autism and ADHD. I'll keep mispronouncing this acronym, but let's go back to the episode. So I'm an AuDHDer and a therapist. I met with a therapist recently for consultation regarding something unrelated to neurodivergence. She was telling me about these clients coming in with great eye contact and who are married, etc., and think they are autistic, but clearly they are not. I asked what did she mean. She said that autistics don't make eye contact and wouldn't be interested in relationships. Uh-oh. They go on to say, I asked if she told this to the clients and she said she did, as she does psychoeducation with them. She then said it's no different than these people who think they have ADHD but have college degrees. Oh no. Or hold down full-time jobs. Who is this lady? This person goes on to say, so apparently even in 2024, we have, quote, well-educated therapists telling these clients such inaccurate information. No kidding. I asked, does she refer these people onto neurodivergent specialists to follow up? And she said no, not unless she can actually see symptoms and she thinks they need it. So note to those who aren't trained in neurodivergence, if someone asks, don't dismiss them. Refer to someone else even if you don't agree. My goodness. Sometimes I wonder if certain perspectives are like rooted in old school understandings of a diagnosis where like now we know more, or if this is just straight up like ableism, mental health stigma, like that you don't think somebody with ADHD can hold down a full-time job is just so unaware that somebody with autistic spectrum disorder can't make eye contact. Like, do you hear yourself? Where have you been living this whole time? Or do you just deny the diagnoses that I don't know. Listen, obviously this is an upsetting post and I'm so sad to hear that this happened. And I imagine it's not just the one therapist that this has happened with. If one person's doing it, probably other people are doing it. Let's see what people are commenting on this post. The top comment says, I still hear that therapists tell adults that they can't have ADHD as adults. What? So this doesn't surprise me the least. In grad school, we didn't even cover neurodevelopmental DSM disorders. What? I'm so confused. Okay, I wonder when this person went to grad school. They continue, I stood witness as one peer walked up to a conversation and commented that he didn't know adults could have autism amongst therapists. What? How? Wow. And then the next response says, what did he think happens to autistic children over time. And then somebody else responds to that. We turn 18 and just poof. Okay. Wow. Just wow. Therapists, we can do better. Pivoting here, the next top post is more humorous. It's titled Cancellation Anticipation, and the description says, literally me the Tuesday morning before Thanksgiving. And there's a photo. Oh, okay. I live under a rock. I know this is a famous actor in this picture, but I don't know their name because I don't really partake in a lot of pop culture media, but they are sweating heavily. And the caption of the photo says, me watching the clock 14 minutes and 30 seconds into the 15-minute window for a client to show up before I can call the session a no-show and take a 45-minute nap. And they're saying this is me the Tuesday morning before Thanksgiving. Oh yeah. The top comment says, oh man, yes. The first 9 minutes, I'm hoping they'll show, but by 11 minutes, I'm hoping they don't. Actually, yeah. Like something like that for me as well. Like the first few minutes, I'm like, okay, I hope everything's okay. Where are they at? I already prepped for this. And then, you know, you kind of get to a point where you're like, I've been waiting for a little bit. It's kind of nice that I'm not working right now, I guess. Maybe it'd be nice to have that for a full hour. Somebody responds, I feel seen. Another top comment under this post says, it happened to me that Tuesday night. I actually had to go back to work for the appointment because it was evening and I went home to start some food prep. They were a no-show. I was there literally counting the seconds, but gave in and called it 10 minutes. I hate that feeling. When somebody cancels, when they were like a special appointment that you added in your schedule, which I used to do a lot more often, and I do it way less now because of this. Because I will get resentful if it's like the day before a holiday and I booked an evening appointment when maybe I don't normally do that, and I was already at home, and maybe I had to schedule some special childcare just to make it happen, and my girls are bummed that mom's not there at dinner time or whatever, and I go back in and they don't show. That's hard for me. I don't like how that feels, and yes, that is one of the many reasons why I have a cancellation policy. So I do still charge for that session, but it still bugs me. I am skipping over some pretty intense posts, but feel free to go back and look at this thread on your own if you want to see those. The next post after those says, blue collar men in therapy. Bless their hearts. They say, bless the hearts of blue-collar men that come to therapy, especially if they're first-timers. I've noticed that these dudes' lives will be in complete shambles, repressed trauma through the roof. The symptoms are symptoming. The whole time they're like, cowboy hat emoji. Oh, I get stressed sometimes like everyone else, but I'm doing great, ma'am. How are you? This person must live in the South. Oh yeah, there they have an edit. It says, quote, bless their hearts is meant earnestly and kindly, not in a negative way. I grew up in the South with a blue collar background. Where I'm from, bless your heart can have a multitude of meanings from earnest and kind to a scathing passive aggressive insult. So I'm providing that context here that I meant it earnestly. It's interesting that this person's referring specifically to blue collar men. And maybe that's kind of reflective of a demographic where this pops up, particularly, where this person lives or the demographic they work with, because I could say that about a lot of different groups of folks. We could say that about certain age groups, potentially that being a little more likely to happen. I see that in general with folks who've been marginalized in an array of ways, whose kind of entire life reflects chronic trauma or even just chronic survival mode. Like maybe somebody had a very challenging immigration story. Or I remember years back, I used to work with Southeast Asian refugees with intense PTSD and other very severe diagnoses. And I'd say like, how are you doing today? And I know that they are not sleeping. Maybe they're hallucinating. And, they're barely scraping by. They go, oh, I'm pretty good. I got to have my favorite snack this morning or whatever. And it's like, that's how our brains work. We're coping with the situation that's in front of us. And if anything, I'd say like, it has its place. Like that's a helpful coping skill. And I think there's just different demographics where that can maybe come out more, or we see it more, I guess, depending on where we live and who we work with, we might see it amongst different demographics. I feel this same sentiment probably coming through from this poster of like whenever somebody who's been so good at like being okay, even though so much is maybe not okay. I just see it as such a triumph that they're even in therapy, because I think oftentimes that goes hand in hand with being part of a demographic that tends to not go to therapy or even actively stigmatize going to therapy. So to me, it's just a big deal that they're here. Like, thank you for coming. Let's go. Okay, here we go. One from a month ago. The title says, the top 5 executives at United Healthcare were paid over $210 million over the last 3 years. This is why mental health professionals don't get paid more, they say. Oh, and they're going to break it down for us with some math in their little description. They say 5 people. You could have paid over 2,000 mental health professionals at $100K each in that time period with the same money. Insurance companies can't reimburse more to providers because they have to keep making their top executives richer. Which group of people does more for the greater good? The 5 executives at big insurance or 2,000 mental health professionals on the ground in the real world? Oh, we went there. We went there. Obviously, this is incredibly relevant. It's always been relevant, but it's really coming up right now. And of course, people are commenting in response related to just different statistics they're aware of related to United Healthcare. I mean, there's some theme here. We saw the Kaiser Strike earlier. Now this commenter breaking down the math of like if we redistributed that wealth of insurance companies, things could go a lot better. I think we know that therapists are not earning enough on average. Let's just put it this way. The way the insurance system is set up right now, it's not working. That's not a bash on therapists who accept insurance. Not at all. That's like you should get an extra gold star for operating under the system despite it being so broken, because it's not working. Like, period, it's not working. And so I don't have a solution. I don't think it falls on the individual therapist to be the providers of the solution, and we all just kind of make the best decisions we can with what's handed to us and the systems and powers that be. But certainly, I think it makes sense to air out all that dirty laundry. All right, and the last one that I'm going to read for today, because I want to eat some lunch before I see the rest of my clients today. This person titled their post, "I love being a therapist." Me too. And they say, "I was in session today with a new client thinking, I love being a therapist. I get to chat with people for a job. Granted, it's more complex than that, but I love connecting with people. This job has granted me the security to live in the biggest apartment I have ever lived in. The note-taking process is really easy, and I don't have a boss up my censored word ever because I work in private practice. I'm so happy to have this job, even though it has its hard days and hard weeks." That's interesting. We've talked about this on this channel before, where how much we love this profession. Sometimes I wonder how much of it is the profession that we love or not versus the work environment and how we're treated in our work environment, whether we're self-employed or employed by somebody else. I just can't help but wonder that, at least as someone who right now feels the same way as this poster. Like, every day I see clients, genuinely, I just feel so grateful that I get to do this as my job. Even though there's some moments that I'm like, there's still moments where that's hard. But overall, like, I just feel so much gratitude. Like, I hit the jackpot with this job. But there were places where I worked in the past where even though I still loved the therapy work so much, there was enough going on in the workplace that I wondered if it was going to be sustainable to stay in this profession. Is it I love being a therapist, or is it that I love working in private practice? I don't know. These are my thoughts coming to my mind as I read. And let me be clear, I know folks who work in community mental health, agency settings, et cetera, other settings, and they love being a therapist too. So I'm just kind of reflecting out loud that I wonder if it's like more about the workplace than being a therapist itself. I don't know. That was a bit of a ramble. Well, I think I might leave it there for this week. I hope you didn't mind this kind of structure for this week. I'm still in holiday mode, and I'll get back on like doing some more real thoughtful work that involves some scripting in future episodes. But I had fun looking at some of these top posts. I'm definitely a Reddit lurker. Like, I haven't even joined the Our Therapist community, but I'll check on it about once a month or so and just see what therapists are talking about, what's getting upvoted, because it helps me kind of feel like I'm getting a sense of what's going on for other therapists. Because I live in my little Marie bubble, and I don't always want to stay in here. I want to see what's going on for y'all. So thank you for joining me in my lurking journey and looking at some of these top posts. And for those who shared maybe more challenging things, and some of those I did skip over, just sending all my heart emojis, love your way. it is a hard job, as much as we kind of made light of some things and laughed a little bit today as well. It is a hard job. It is mental parkour, like that one meme said. And I hope you give yourself a pat on the back. And before we close, I'd like to thank TherapyNotes.com for sponsoring this video. TherapyNotes helps with all of your practice management needs, from scheduling to notes to billing. They have a HIPAA secure telehealth platform included for free for all users, and so much more. If you'd like to check out TherapyNotes, you can get 2 months to try it for free with no commitment just by clicking the link in the description of this video. Well, I hope you are having a, nice start to the new year. I get that the new year can be different things for different people. So I just welcome to 2025 in whatever state you're in. And I'm wishing you well from one therapist to another. Until next time. Why did I do that completely backwards? Let's try that again. Until next time, from one therapist to another, I wish you well.